All right, so are you ready to dive in? Because today we're talking all about Doug Gottlieb.
Oh, yeah, I am. He's a fascinating guy.
He is. And, a lot of people know him as this national radio host who knows, everything about basketball.
Right.
But he's also currently coaching a divisioner college basketball team.
Yeah, at the same time. It's crazy.
It's wild. We're going to try to unpack how he manages it all by looking at his biography. So to start things off, Gottlieb grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where they love their basketball.
Oh, yeah, classic start to a sports story, right?
Total immersion in the game from childhood. But then things get interesting.
Yeah, he gets dismissed from the Notre Dame basketball team.
As a freshman, can you imagine?
Oh, man, that must have been tough.
Yeah.
I mean, for most young athletes, that's a major setback,
Totally. But not Gottlieb. He goes to Golden West College, works his tail off, and then ends up at Oklahoma State.
That really shows his resilience. A lot of people would have just given up at that point.
For sure. It's like this defining characteristic for him,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it totally pays off at Oklahoma State.
Oh, yeah. He becomes a star player.
Led the nation in assists even.
Which is a pretty big deal, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
It means he's not just about scoring. He understands the whole game.
Yeah. He's making his teammates better.
Exactly.
Which is something we see throughout his career.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
But his path to coaching wasn't, a straight line.
Well, he didn't make it to the NBA.
Which is the dream for so many college players.
Right, and that could have been, the end for some people.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Gottlieb just kind of rolls with it and transitions right into coaching. And he ends up as head coach at Green Bay in 2024.
Yeah.
While still hosting his national radio show.
How does he even find the time?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's not just half-assing it either. He's giving it his all on both sides.
He's always been one to try new things, though, right? Think about his practice approach.
Okay, so what's he doing?
2-a-day practices.
Whoa, that's intense.
But he's not just running them into the ground.
Okay, so there's a strategy here.
Totally. Yeah. He's all about quality over quantity. He focuses on these 5-on-5 drills.
So they're basically playing a simulated game.
Exactly. It's all about getting them ready for real game situations.
That's smart. So how does this all reflect on his coaching style then?
It shows he's thinking big picture even with the small details. It's he's not just coaching individual players.
He's building a team.
Exactly. A team that works together understands the flow of the game. Kind of like how he manages his own career.
Ooh, that's a good point. Okay, so let's talk about the Doug Gottlieb show for a minute. It's still super successful, and his commentary, it goes way beyond just the basics.
Remember his comments on Bill Belichick recently?
Oh, yeah. What about those?
They were so insightful. You could tell he really understands football, too. Strategy and coaching. Yeah. It's not just basketball with him.
Yeah, it's he's always analyzing no matter what sport he's watching.
It's got to be in his DNA.
Totally. But let's bring it back to Green Bay for a sec.
Okay.
It's his first season as head coach.
Yeah.
The record's currently 0-0.
It's early days, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh.
And he's got a 5-year contract, so there's time to build the program. But the question is, can he really keep up with both coaching and radio long term?
That's the million-dollar question. And then there's that NCAA proposal he made, too.
Whoa, yeah, that was a bold move.
He wanted his Green Bay team to play in this tournament with a potential $2 million prize.
Wow, $2 million?
But he was going to donate it all to charity.
That's incredible. So what happened?
The NCAA, they ended up rejecting it.
Really?
They were worried about setting a precedent.
Yeah.
Teams profiting from exhibition games and all that.
I see. Yeah, it's a complicated issue.
It is, but even though it didn't work out, it still says a lot about Gottlieb.
Oh, for sure.
That he's willing to think outside the box to, use his platform for something bigger than himself.
And that brings us back to his ability to connect with people. His radio show isn't just about sports commentary.
No, it's storytelling and, these thoughtful conversations about all sorts of things.
And he's not afraid to share his opinions even when they're controversial.
But he does it in a way that's, respectful and makes you think he's got this way of weaving together personal stories and historical stuff.
He makes it interesting.
Yeah, it's like listening to a friend who happens to be a basketball encyclopedia. And he's funny, too.
Yeah, you can tell he's always learning, always asking questions. He's not just trying to be right.
Which is so refreshing these days.
Totally. Okay, so to recap, we've got this fascinating guy, coach and broadcaster innovator, but also grounded in tradition. This strategist who's willing to take risks. It's all happening right now at Green Bay.
It's like we're watching a case study in leadership and adaptability in real time.
Exactly. And it raises so many questions will all of his experiences, as a player coach, media personality, Will it lead to success on the court?
And can he build a winning team while still doing his radio show?
And how are his players going to respond to all of this?
We'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, Doug Gottlieb is not afraid to challenge expectations.
He's rewriting the rules of what it means to be a coach, a broadcaster, a leader.
He's proving that success isn't just a straight line. You know?
It's about embracing challenges and constantly pushing yourself.
And that's a message that goes way beyond sports.
Absolutely. It's for anyone who's ever felt lost or uncertain about their future.
Gottlieb's story reminds us that it's never too late to reinvent yourself, to chase those dreams.
Okay, so before we go too deep into the philosophy of it all, let's talk about the practical side of things. How is he actually managing both coaching and broadcasting at the same time?
Well, it takes a lot of discipline and organization, obviously.
Yeah.
But think about those 2-a-day practices.
Oh, yeah.
They're a perfect example of how he's maximizing his time.
He's working smarter, not just harder.
Right. But it can't be easy.
No, I'm sure there are scheduling conflicts, travel logistics, the mental and physical demands of it all.
It's got to be a constant balancing act.
For sure.
But Gottlieb seems to thrive in those kind of situations. You know, he can focus on whatever's right in front of him.
Whether it's coaching a game, analyzing a trade, or prepping for a radio interview.
Exactly.
He's like a basketball Swiss Army knife.
I love that.
Multi-talented, adaptable, always ready for whatever comes next.
Yeah, but is it sustainable?
Like, long-term, could there be a point where he has to choose one or the other?
That's the big question. Only Gottlieb knows how much he can handle.
But if history is any guide, he'll find a way to make it work.
He always does.
And that drive, that refusal to settle, that's what makes his story so fascinating.
It is. And, you know, we haven't even touched on his personal life yet. His family, the sacrifices they've made.
That's true. We tend to focus on the public achievements, but there's always more to the story.
Right, there's a whole other side we don't always see.
Exactly. So do we know anything about Gottlieb's life off the court?
Well, from what I've heard, family is super important to him. He talks about his wife and kids on his show, sometimes shares little stories.
Oh, that's nice.
It's clear that they're a huge source of support for him.
That's great to hear. It reminds us that even the most ambitious people are still shaped by their relationships.
Absolutely.
It makes you wonder how his family feels about this whole experiment of his, the coaching and broadcasting.
I'm sure they're excited for him, but maybe a little worried too.
Yeah. It's going to be tough to see someone you love under so much pressure.
Definitely.
But as we've seen throughout his career, Gottlieb has a way of exceeding expectations. He finds a way even when it seems impossible.
He really does.
And that brings us back to what makes his story so compelling. It's not just about basketball. It's about resilience and adaptability. It's about going after what you love, even when you don't know what's going to happen.
You know what? I think that's a powerful message for everyone.
Absolutely.
Gottlieb's journey reminds us that we all face challenges, but what really matters is how we respond to them.
Do we give up, or do we find a way to keep going?
Exactly.
He's proof that our biggest challenges can also lead to our biggest successes.
If we have the courage to embrace them.
And to learn from them.
And just as importantly, he's showing us that success doesn't have to look a certain way.
You don't have to follow a traditional path.
Right. It's about finding your own way and being fulfilled by it.
So I want to leave our listeners with a question. What's one area of your life where you feel stuck or unsure about what to do next?
What would it look like to use Gottlieb's mindset in that situation? You know, his resilience, his creativity.
I encourage you to really think about that.
Because Doug Gottlieb's story, it's not just about him. It's about the potential we all have to overcome adversity and create a life that's meaningful to us.
That's a great point. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See ya. So this proposal was basically Gottlieb kind of shaking things up, you know?
Challenging the status quo.
Exactly. He wanted Green Bay to play in this tournament. Could have won $2 million.
A lot of money.
Huge. But get this, he was going to donate it all.
All of it.
Every penny to charity.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, he could have used it to, fund the program or something.
Right, or just kept it for himself.
Exactly. But he didn't. So what did the NCAA say?
Well, they weren't too happy about it.
They rejected it.
They did.
Yeah.
Said it would set a bad precedent. You know, teams profiting from these exhibition games.
I can kind of see their point.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation.
Definitely. But regardless of the outcome, it really shows Gottlieb's character, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
He's not afraid to take risks, to think outside the box.
And to do something good with his platform. It's not just about him.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that ability he has to connect with people, like on his radio show.
Right. It's not just about sports commentary. It's about telling stories, having these deep conversations.
He's got opinions for sure, but he's always respectful and he makes you think.
He's got a real talent for weaving things together.
Mm-hmm.
Personal stories, historical context, all that.
He makes it interesting.
Yeah, like you're listening to a friend who just happens to be a basketball genius.
And he's funny, too.
Don't forget the humor.
Never. And you can tell he's always learning, always curious. He doesn't have to be right all the time.
Which is so rare these days.
Totally. So it's like we've got this paradox, a coach who's also a broadcaster, this innovator who still respects tradition, a strategist who takes risks. It's all coming together at Green Bay.
It's pretty fascinating to watch.
It really is. Like we're seeing a masterclass in leadership and adaptation happening in real time.
Right. And it makes you wonder, will all of his experiences translate into wins on the court?
Can he build a winning team while still doing the radio show?
And how will his players respond to his style? He's doing things differently.
So many questions.
We'll have to see how it all unfolds. But one thing's for sure, Doug Gottlieb does things his own way.
He's not afraid to challenge expectations. He's redefining what it means to be a coach, a broadcaster, a leader.
He's showing us that success isn't a straight line.
It's about adapting and constantly pushing yourself.
And that's something we can all learn from.
For sure, whether you're into sports or not.
Right. It's about finding your own path and pursuing your passions, even when things are uncertain.
Now, before we get too philosophical here, let's talk about the logistics of it all. How is he actually managing both jobs at the same time?
Well, it takes a ton of discipline, organization.
Yeah.
But remember those 2-a-day practices?
Yeah.
That's Gottlieb being efficient. He's making the most of his time.
Working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Right.
But I got to imagine there are still challenges. Scheduling conflicts, travel, the mental and physical demands of it all.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's a constant balancing act.
Definitely.
But he seems to thrive under pressure. He can compartmentalize and focus on whatever needs his attention at that moment.
Coaching a game, analyzing a trade, getting ready for his radio show.
Exactly. He's like a basketball multi-tool.
I like that.
Prepared for anything.
But is it sustainable in the long run?
That's the big question. Could there come a point where he has to choose?
Coaching or broadcasting?
Right. Only Gottlieb knows how much he can handle. But based on his track record,
He'll probably find a way to make it work.
he always does.
It's that never give up attitude that makes him so interesting to follow.
You know what else we haven't really talked about?
What's that?
His personal life, his family, all the sacrifices they've made.
That's true. It's easy to focus on the public achievements, but there's always a whole other side to the story.
The behind-the-scenes stuff, the people who make it all possible.
Right. Do we know anything about Gottlieb's life off the court?
Well, he talks about his family a lot on the radio. His wife and kids.
Oh, yeah.
Shares little stories and stuff. It seems like they're really important to him.
Ah, that's sweet. It's good to hear. It's like a reminder that even these super driven people, they still need that support system.
Totally.
It makes you wonder, though, what his family thinks about this whole, coaching and broadcasting thing. Are they on board or are they a little worried about him?
I'm sure it's a mix of both, right?
Yeah.
Excited for him, but maybe also concerned about the pressure he's under.
Yeah, it's got to be tough to watch someone you love push themselves that hard. But you know what? Gottlieb has a way of proving people wrong. He finds a way to make it work even when it seems impossible.
He really does.
And I think that's what makes his story so inspiring. It's not just about basketball. It's about resilience and adaptability. It's about going after your dreams even when you're not sure what's going to happen.
It's a good reminder for all of us.
It is. Gottlieb's journey, it shows us that challenges are a part of life. But it's how we deal with them that matters.
Do we give up? Or do we dig deep and keep going?
Exactly. He's proof that those tough times can actually lead to something great.
If we let them.
And he's also showing us that success doesn't have to look a certain way.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow the traditional path.
Right. Find your own way and do what makes you happy.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on Doug Gottlieb, I want to leave you with one question. Think about an area of your life where you feel stuck or unsure about what to do next.
Yeah.
How could you apply Gottlieb's mindset to that situation? His resilience, his willingness to think outside the box?
That's a great question.
I really encourage you to spend some time with that. Because Gottlieb's story, it's not just about him. It's about the potential we all have to overcome obstacles and create a life that we love.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been fun.
It has.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing those boundaries.
See ya.